It's time for Yogi and the Beach Man. I'm Jim the Yogi.
I'm Rick Beach, the Beach Man.
And we don't have any video yet. Here we go.
Let's go.
Now we're on video.
All right.
Welcome, everybody. So today we have Sharon Rolph joining us shortly. She's a motivating influencer.
What is a motivating influencer, you might ask?
I knew you were going to say that.
As I am asking, because I have no clue.
So what she does is she helps people that are retired to find their sparkle, I guess. She helps them define their purpose and spark. So,
but if you're retired,
well, think of it this way: the average lifespan of a retiree, the average span of a retiree is 5 years.
What?
Yeah, the average lifespan of a retiree is
not
5
me,
years.
man, not me.
Well, you're not retired.
I know, but when I do, it's going to be longer than that. I guarantee it.
Yeah, but that's the average, and that's pretty scary. So she helps people, find themselves, love themselves, do things, get out and volunteer, whatever it takes to make their life fulfilling.
That's cool.
Very cool. Very cool. So it's only been 2 days since we podcast. Anything new from you?
No, not really. Just been still working, doing solar, selling solar down in Southwest Florida. And band practice tonight was fun.
Cool.
Got a gig tomorrow.
Cool. I've been spending tons of time pushing our podcast. And we have these business cards that I designed.
Oh, look, it's reversed. Like I told you they were reversed on that.
Oh, yeah. Can't read it. Anyway, everybody that I talk to, I give a business card to. At pickleball, at the store, at the restaurant, when I go to meet people on Facebook Marketplace to buy things, like we picked up those seahorse lamps over there. We'll talk about that later. But I just want to encourage you to pass out some business cards. So Sharon's coming on.
I thought about that. Hi, Sharon. Hopefully you're coming on board here.
Promoting. She'll be here in a second. She's pushing all the right buttons. Hey, Sharon.
Hey, Sharon.
So let's see. I want to figure out who you guys are.
I'm Jim the Yogi.
And I'm Rick Beach, and I call myself the Beach Man. So we are Yogi and the Beach Man, and our whole gig is we do a health and wellness.
Well, we're promoting people that are helping people.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, trying to make the world a better place, one conversation at a time.
That's a great tagline there, JP.
So welcome to the show. We're thrilled to have you today.
Thank you for inviting me.
You're welcome. You're welcome. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, I am 76. I've never married, never had cancer, never had diabetes. I'm a behavioral scientist. I am a retirement coach. I'm pretty busy these days on podcasting.
Great.
I did about 53 of them myself way back 4 or 5 years ago.
You were in with the original crowd 5 years ago. That's great.
I'm north of Seattle, and let's see, it says it's 58 here, but I don't
like Vancouver area or where?
South of Vancouver, actually the Vancouver, Washington, and the Vancouver, Canada. And
in between. Nice.
Really? Well, we're about as far away from you as humanly possible. And right now, if I walked outside, it's 93 and about 100% humidity.
Yep.
In South Florida.
Well, I lived in Tampa for a while.
Tampa's
okay,
nice.
so
I lived there for a while too.
Yeah, you know the drill then.
Yeah, it rains every day at 4 o'clock.
Yep.
Yeah.
Better watch quiet.
Yeah, no doubt about that.
One of my most humiliating days, when you feel ultra stupid, was going to an event down there. I had an appointment, and I kind of got lost on my way there. And, we didn't have GPS at the time. So I finally stopped and called the office, and she says, well, and so many streets down there are names, not numbers. So you haven't any idea whether you're getting closer or farther away with names. Up here, we've got lots of numbers on the street signs, So when I asked her, when I told her my plight, she says, well, where's the sun?
Well, I'm a solar guy, so I know always which way I'm facing.
Yeah, but there it's always cloudy.
That's true. You kind of develop an inner sense of direction.
Oh, okay. I'm not.
Well, sorry, I haven't developed an intercessive direction. How's that sound? It's probably better. So I was interested when JP signed you up. I'm like, okay, well, this is interesting. I don't know anything about this. So tell us about what you do.
Well, the thing I most want to teach people is something they don't know they need. And yet Aristotle says, know thyself. So my signature system is discover your spark, rekindle your joy. And when I retired, the week before I retired, I actually started coaching school. And the first thing they taught us was to write our essence statement. Well, I've renamed that to be my inner spark, or just spark, my spark. So when we got through making, well, in essence, it's gotten used so much lately that that's the main reason I renamed it. And as we had worked the whole weekend on our essence statement, and as we stood in a group and was reading to each other our essence statement, as it came my turn to share mine, I had this amazing feeling that nobody had ever asked me to share or define my soul before. It felt like I was reading them my soul definition. Here's what I said. I am precious jewel of wisdom. I am colorful collaborator, motivator, and learner. I'm tranquil, authentic, and pure inspirer. I light fires.
That's kind of that's
so
pretty
cool.
heavy.
It's very cool. But when you said you light fires, it made me like,
I want
are you a
everybody to
pyro?
know who they are on the inside.
Yeah, yeah.
Well,
It's a great thing.
it did the I Light Fire struck me too. I was like, okay, that was a double-edged sword. I didn't see the double edge coming on.
Yeah. But you're talking about the spark inside, the fire inside.
Intrinsic motivation.
Mm-hmm. I like that.
And what happens when you live from the inside? Well, I knew that it was like 3-4 months later when I was kind of bouncing off the wall, and I thought, how do I know if I'm productive today? There's no bosses telling me what project I need to work on. There's I live alone, so there's nobody, pulling on my shoulder. And I had made a wall hanging. I used to hang it here on the wall behind me. And somebody, I guess, thought it wasn't as professional as it could be. So, but 3 different times I came and read it, and I gradually realized, oh, when I'm living from what's inside, every day feels right. I'm
Mhm.
living by what matters to me. And the byproduct is contentment, meaning, fulfillment, satisfaction. And I'm now on a bandwagon to impact 10% of the boomers to live from their spark, because it will flow effortlessly. They don't need to be pumped up because it's something that's inside.
How do you bring that spark out? How do you kindle that fire?
There's several exercises people work through. It's basically doing a term paper on yourself, your
Mhm.
invisible assets. So start, gentlemen, by making a list of 20 things you love to do. That's some
20?
That's a big list.
Hmm.
it
I don't
might,
know if I have 20 things I like to do.
yeah, I've been thinking I should go back to my list, and did I really list 20 things? But it that's one of the things that starts opening up your heart and saying, oh yeah, I do love to do that. Oh yeah, that's something else I love to do. I love to
Well,
smell.
when you think about that, and I'm just busting it through my head real quick, I'm thinking, well, yeah, I could spend more time with my daughter. I could go see my grandkids more. I could take a walk once a week for an hour extra.
Okay, that's a start. That's a start. Oh,
I mean, those were like the side element. Those were the ones down the list, and there's certainly the big ones.
say that again, please.
No, I was just saying, there are 20 things, that would be a long list. And I was kind of digging deep to get to those few, because there's always
Yeah.
the several up top. I want to eat right. I want to be healthy. I'm going to exercise. I'm going to,
Mhm.
show more love to people and be better tomorrow. Say hi to, or do a random act of kindness today, stuff like that.
The things you're already doing,
The
and then
things
there's
you're
just things
already
you love that you're not doing. So,
So be a little bit aware of there's be, do, and have. I did that with courage. I'm the queen of courage on Instagram. So some of my first messages were all around what could you do, courage to do, be yourself, courage to be, and oftentimes there's an element of being bold enough to be vulnerable that kind of stops us from being, our best self. And then courage to do, and some of those are, kind of come together a little bit. But another exercise is deciding what are your guiding principles. One of mine that came up quickly for me was, where there's a will, there's a way, says Mom. And
talk to me more about those defining principles, by what you mean by that.
well, it kind of so Mom, growing up, there's like one of um something that helps decide your strength, but I think my younger sister, she's family is the ultimate or whatever. And let's see, what was another one? Where there's a will, there's a way. Oh, giving people the benefit of the doubt. And to me, that's a little bit about being generous with your ability to trust people. Don't assume their meaning to be taking instead of giving, kind of thing. I'll never forget the times I was with my aunt Lorraine, who's my favorite aunt, and I think I shared something with her, or else somebody else was, and I was in her presence, and she said, "Oh, they didn't mean that." Whatever the story was, that was just the opposite of assuming the worst. She was assuming the best, because how many times out something that we only mean like 5%, and if we take 100% of what was just said, we could get angry, and but recognizing that people have up and down days, just, oh, they didn't mean that, let's not fight.
Well, when you get, Jim and I are both 60, and I've noticed that people, my peers, our age group, stuff like that, when you're talking to most people, I think most people believe that most people, for the most part, are good people. But then there are some people that think most people are not good people, and everyone's out to get them, or against them, or the world's against them. Now, I'm sure you could steer someone maybe at 15 or 20 or 25 years old to maybe come around to say, hey, man, most people are good people. But when you, and maybe by just showing them through trial and error, but if someone has been 50, 60, 70 years of thinking everyone's against them, it's hard to switch that mindset. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, it'd be hard. That's why
But you must work with people like that who
well,
are kind of negative, and you got to flip that switch.
yeah, I know a lot of people who coach mainly on mindset, and I've even been questioning a couple of my mindsets lately that might be holding me back. But I've always said, is people don't change until they hurt bad enough that makes them want to change.
Yeah.
And health diagnosis might persuade people to change, right? Or getting in an accident, or yeah, there's lots of things, but until you hurt bad enough to want to change, then and recognize that what you've been doing hasn't worked and I need help. I do a loneliness to resilience membership community once a week. We talked this week about how hard it is to ask for help. Right, gentlemen?
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
People don't want to ask for help in general. That's very true.
So it's kind of like eating crow. when,
Mhm.
when you
Well,
have,
until you can let your ego go and let your pride just go away and say, hey, and I think that's a skill I've developed in the last couple of years and say, hey, I'm not too proud to ask for this. If I know I'm messed up, I'm going to ask for help. If I break my arm, I'm going to the hospital. If my head's messed up, I'm going to try to figure it out, and I'm going to go to people who can help me do that.
yeah.
And where maybe 15 years ago I would not have been that way. I'm a man. I'm going to handle this myself.
Yeah, ego has a big part of holding us back. In fact, I make these little art blocks, and one of them, oh yeah, it's right here. And I've never shown this before because most people don't relate to it. But I think it says, "What do you think?" It takes a person, especially your boss, how willing is he going to ask you for advice? He's got to swallow his ego in order to be open to hearing what you have to say, right?
But the best bosses and managers are the ones that aren't like that. They're the ones that say, hey, come on, give me what you got. Let's go. And swallow that. And from my experience, those bosses and managers that will open themselves up and let their egos go are women. I've worked for women my entire life, pretty much. All of my best bosses have been women.
Same.
And I work for a boss today, and my sales manager, Michelle, is about 43. 15 years ago, she was the marketing person at where I work at a solar company in Fort Myers, Florida. And I'm like, and then a sales position opened up. She's like, I can never do that. I'm like, Michelle, come on. You're 30 years old. You got it going on. You're attractive. You can do this. She's like, Rick, I can't. Well, now, fast forward 15 years, she's now my boss. She yells at me daily, and I hate her a lot, but I love her always. And I'm just so proud of her. But that's the thing, to switch someone from saying I can't to I can, or I'm not gonna to I will. It's a tough sell, but if you can make that switch happen, it's really going to be beneficial for. For
that person, for you, for other
yeah,
people.
really, and your whole family.
Mm-hmm.
So another step that I work is your values, and I've got a sheet of about 50 values, and there's even blank spots for some values I might have missed. So like wisdom is one of my values. It wasn't on the spreadsheet, so I added it. But values, I don't think we talk near enough about them, and yet the more I would talk to you guys about it, the more, oh yeah, that is true. I knew that. Okay, so yet the caveat is when your decisions and choices don't line up with your values, it creates frustration, and we don't recognize that.
Mm-hmm. Inner conflict.
So yeah, so an example, an easy example is you hear a news story on the evening news about that.
Say that again. Kind of broke up.
Yes, somebody needs to do something about that story. Somebody was treated unjustly, or something broken. Look what it caused to happen, or this is kind of a lame example, but here a couple of years ago, driving down to Boeing, and I noticed the sign on the had changed. Oh, look, we solved the problem. The problem, it was one I didn't recognize, and I people who are always looking for something that needs fixing, they fix that sign, made it better. So that's kind of maybe a little bit of quality control, but it it takes all of us to help things get better. But any questions about values?
Not really. I remember when I was in my probably mid 20s, somebody asked me if another person and I shared the same values. And honestly, at that time, I didn't know what it was. I thought, oh, we both see a quarter as equaling 25 cents. So yeah. But then when I learned what values really are, no, our values were totally different. But I answered the
Yeah, so
question yes, but it wasn't true because I didn't understand what the word value meant at the time.
yeah, I think my values were creativity and integrity and collaboration, responsibility. I want you to be able to take my words to the bank.
Hmm.
My last job is like this guy would wait to hear what you said, and oh, she wants to hear this answer from a used car salesman. Maybe. I don't think so. Yeah, he didn't last long.
I sold. I was a used car salesman for 10+ years. It. I never thought I would be that, but when I moved down here to Florida, it just wasn't working out, and I ended up walking into a car dealership, and there I was for the next 12 years, raised my whole family, or raised my family, worked selling cars.
And you did it by being yourself, by
Oh, well, that's the only way to do anything.
He's very charismatic and caring for people and honest.
But
And a great talker.
if you were in the car business, you know that the hours are sucked for retail car sales guys. So I had my responsibilities, with which raising my youngest daughter when she got out of high school. I'm like, I'm done with this. And I went to I taught myself a little bit of solar, and I interviewed with several companies, one of which I'm still with, and I kind of interviewed them to see where I wanted to work.
yeah,
I had a gig.
Yeah.
I had a good gig. I was making good money. I didn't need to leave. And I literally went to work for 3 or 4 months for free and just said, give me a computer and a phone, I'll make some money. And I eventually did, and I'm still there 15 years later.
Well, in fact, that's a point that I brought out in the course that I recently wrote on in May on volunteering, is that volunteering often turns into a job.
Mm-hmm.
And people in retirement, when they need some extra income, and find a company that you admire and then go help them. In fact, I think Bob Proctor had a couple stories about people that if you really like the company, be willing to work for free, for a few months, and let them see how good and responsible that you are. And companies love that kind of character in their new employees.
Mm-hmm. That's good initiative too.
So when you're dealing with retirees, I mean, are most of your folks you're talking to, are they like single, widowed, widowers, married? What do you got going on here?
Well, I think I saw a percentage here just last week that there's 46% of retirees are single. And they're single because of either health, people have died ahead of them, or their friends, because they're no longer living. Oftentimes there's divorce involved with it. I liked you when you were going to work every day, but having you around the house for 24/7 just oftentimes
Plus, Bob down the street. Bob down the street's a really good golfer.
sometimes people move because, well, that doesn't make them single, but it could be a reason to move. When your kids are in another state and you want to be near them, especially the moms, grandmas, they want to be next to their grandkids. That just is their purpose for life, for the time being, maybe. But in fact, okay, so when I started doing workshops at senior centers called "What Do I Want to Do in Retirement?" So I collected a lot of websites and books and movies that spoke messages and were resources for people that were kind of like bouncing off the wall and needed help figuring out what their new purpose is. And in retirement, you need a new purpose because you live longer. And you're
Yeah.
not spending as much time in the doctor's office, and you're more social. So volunteering is a huge place to plug in retirement. And the easiest way to go from no business card to retirement is to do what you did for nonprofit or charity. Like if you were an accountant who needs a number crunching done, and just providing you like crunching numbers, then find somebody that love to have you crunch numbers. Maybe you're a pilot and you could deliver people or supplies to for a nonprofit or a foundation.
I'm getting the feeling that you really need to move to Florida. There's a huge market of retirees down here, huge market of single retirees. I know the internet's great, but sometimes it's hard to connect with people when you're 3,000 or plus miles away.
Yeah, I do know a gal. I think she's in northern Florida.
Hmm.
Christine. Her last name is something like Cataggio or something. She's a
Okay.
little bit different focus than I am, but I know I've seen her a couple times on live events online. But her and another gal in Boston, we've talked about creating a purpose movement weekly or monthly video where we're talking about helping people find a new purpose. There's even with the one in Boston, she's been working in the senior living industry for 20 years or more, and she's actually teaching dementia patients to have a purpose. It's awesome.
Wow.
Yeah, and in fact, I saw something, I think it was yesterday, of a couple ladies like sweeping the floor and doing their own laundry. And I guess in these senior living places, there's a lot of things that are done for people where
Yeah.
they would get a lot of energy out of doing it themselves.
Some value. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, yeah.
I was wondering when you first said that, giving dementia patients purpose, I was thinking, what does that look like? But I think you kind of described it there.
Yeah,
Hey
yeah.
Sharon, are you into the alternative medicine space at all?
Um, I have recently, like in the last 3, maybe 4 weeks, connected with a guy that was a chiropractor in Texas, and he's now in Thailand doing alternative medicine. And he says I can come back on his program anytime I want because we just really connected. So I'm because I haven't, I'm 76, guys. So
Okay.
It's hard to believe.
between my supplements and not ever being sick, well, let me give you a story. There was a flu going around. Every year the flu goes around. And I was working a second shift job down here at the bank. And I started feeling a little nauseous for about 10 minutes. And I said, go bother somebody else. And it did. We put up with too much stuff. Oh yeah, it's going around. I guess it's my turn. No, it's not my turn.
I love that you telling that story because somewhere in my 20s, I recognized that right before I got sick, like I'd have a little sniffle in my nose or something like that. I would literally tell myself, "Oh, I must be getting sick," and I would. And then somewhere I recognized that this was happening, and it said when I get a little sniffle or something like that, as I would have different affirmations like, "I'm perfectly healthy. I'm fine. I'm
Yeah.
not." And
I
then
think,
and getting sick, I never get sick. Shouldn't
yeah,
say never, but
during the COVID, I never had the shots. I never got sick. I think for 3 days I had a little bit of a cold, but you used your emergency drink and lemon juice and zinc and vitamin C.
Vitamin
Right
D,
on,
D, and
right
zinc.
on, yeah. We've been having this conversation on quite a few of our podcasts lately, and a lot of our guests have not been vaccinated and taking measures into their own hands, or just not believing the propaganda, and it's a great
I
thing.
have a self-healing body.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, and now it's not only been there's evidence not only was it not effective or safe,
The
it's
vaccine.
inherently harmful,
Yeah.
and well, that's a whole different subject matter. But
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I saw something yesterday that they recognizing that autism and ADHD and so forth are a lot higher since they've been doing more vaccines for elementary kids.
Yes.
well, if you want to go down the rabbit hole, I'll be happy to talk to you about that all day long because
That needs to be a side conversation.
And if you're not from, and write this down, Sharon, write down the High Wire Del Bigtree, and go to the High Wire podcast and listen to Del Bigtree. And the most recent episode is about childhood vaccines and how they were never, ever tested again there's no evidence that says these vaccines don't cause this. There's no evidence they do because the studies have never been done.
Right.
So once again, this podcast episode is not to go down the vaccine rabbit hole, but if you want to learn a lot more about what's going on right now, and this is stuff that's just become evidentiary in court in depositions, that the main vaccinologists, Platts Vaccines, the guys that wrote the Bible for vaccines under deposition are now saying, no, we don't know that this doesn't cause autism because we never, ever, ever checked for it.
But you sure will find a lot of information out there that's saying, oh, these vaccines don't cause autism.
Because if you say it, you're an anti-vaxxer and you're on the fringe and you're a whack job. But there's a study that a pediatrician did with over 10,000 deliveries, or he was a labor doctor. Yeah. What do you know? You're a nerd. What do they call those guys? Obstetrics?
Yeah, obstetric doctor.
Delivered over 10,000 babies over 11 years. Took every one of them notes on who had vaccines, who didn't have vaccines, which one. The unvaccinated children were smarter, better grades, healthier by factors of 5, 6, 7. Just amazing how much damage is being caused by the childhood vax schedule. So, all right, that's my
this
rant.
episode
That's
is
my
not
rant
brought
on
to you by
that.
Pfizer.
Not bought by Pfizer. No.
All right. Yeah, we kind of got off track there. Let's hear more about you and the work you're doing.
I'm having a struggle finding where boomers are, and
They're in Florida.
Well, my latest goal is to be a life enrichment speaker on the cruise ships. I bet I can find some boomers on the cruise ships.
Yes.
They're a captive audience too.
We just had the Joan brothers on. Actually, their podcast just went live Tuesday, and they did. They used to be in a, what was the name of that? The type of genre that is.
No, they were acapella.
Acapella,
but world champion acapella guys.
And they did 6 cruises on Disney cruises doing their acapella shows. And
they were called Six Appeal.
6, yeah. But they said the exact same thing. Captive audience, they loved it. People would be so pumped up because there's nowhere else to go at night, so they'd come to the show. So yeah, that might be your in.
When they're in between ports, they need some entertainment. And I enrolled with a agency that placed people on cruise ships last year, but there's 6 of them, and I only applied to one of them. But I think it's going to be easier to find word of mouth type of connections with ships. Most of the people that I saw as an example of who are currently doing life enrichment were professors, and they had to do with what's the fish flora and where we're going, what the harbor, what to see there and all that. And it sounded rather boring,
Mhm.
but I'm started being connected with a group out of Ohio that talks about collective intelligence, collective leadership, and conscious facilitation. And I've got this harebrained idea that having people drawn to a topic on the cruise ship, like maybe something everybody experiences in their towns, is homelessness. How could we brainstorm how to solve homelessness that could apply to anywhere in the world? And
That's
to
a
get
big
enough,
topic.
yeah, to get enough topics that would relate to a high number of um, cruise goers would be the next challenge. But hey, I can brainstorm with you guys and see what.
Well, I like what you're doing with the, creating that spark in retirees. Before the show, I was talking to Rick, and I've seen statistics where the average lifespan of a retiree is 5 years because they
Yeah,
don't have a spark, they don't have drive, they don't have
exactly.
motivation.
Okay, so there was a myth going around at Boeing, and somebody told me that a lot of people put off retiring because they know they'll be dead in 3 years.
Hmm.
Well, since I retired, I wanted to pay off a credit card bill, so I drove Lyft around here, and somebody in my car said that same myth was going around their work, and they had nothing to do with Boeing. So one day I was coming back from being gone over the weekend, and I immediately got my water to come out here and water my plants. And it dawned on me, oh yeah, if they're not growing, they're dying. If we're not growing, we're dying. And
Hmm.
yes, it took me a while to realize that it may take 3 years for a couch potato to die.
Yeah, yeah. Use it or
So,
lose it. You got to get
so
out there and move. You got to do things. You got to use your brain.
Well, and physical activity is such a huge part of that.
Yeah.
If you're not getting out 4 or 5 times a week and walking around the block or playing pickleball, I think that started up where you are, by the way.
Close to where you are. Yeah.
yeah, Bainbridge Island started
Bring,
pickleball.
Bainbridge, yeah,
yeah.
Bainbridge Island. We did a whole episode on the origins of pickleball.
Yeah. And my wife and I actually lived in Tacoma for about 4 months, a little over
Oh,
a year ago, almost 2 years ago now.
kind of stinks there, doesn't it?
Uh, no. Are we talking about like paper mill smell or?
Yeah, yeah, kind of.
No, I didn't. Charleston, South Carolina did, but I didn't notice that in Tacoma.
Well, I
But a
don't know.
lot of homelessness, not a safe area. Just you always got to be on guard.
Yeah.
Well, the whole left coast is a little bit like that.
Not all of it, but lots of pockets of it for sure.
So let's see. Another thing we do in my Discover Your Spark program
Hmm.
is to write 5 dreams, goals, or wishes about 9 different topics that are what makes up life. Your relationships, your career, your finances, your I don't know, there are 9 of them. So that takes a lot of thinking. And when I did my exercises, I let them sit on the table for a couple weeks, because as like you're saying, Richard, the more you think about it, the more you can dig up the deeper things. And
Hmm.
I easy way to think about it might be that you're still that dynamite debater or basketball player, or all those things you learned before you're 20, and all the people and jobs and experiences had since then are all things that your invisible assets. And the more that you think about what did you enjoy doing, and realize we're here to enjoy life, and all these mundane things about paying for the roof over your head and your car and your education. There's not much joy in that. It's something you have to do, you know. But when you get to live from your heart in retirement, um, you you have time to reflect back on things that you enjoyed. Okay, so my book that I wrote, Fresh Courage in Retirement: Finding Purpose, Essence, and Fulfillment. Fresh Courage term came from a Hallmark movie. There was a line in the movie that said, "When you go home from vacation, you often go home with fresh courage." I had realized that before I left Boeing. There's times that you come back from vacation, you've got more gumption. There's things that you've been putting up with that need to be solved, and you know, you jump in a little bit more eagerly than before you left on vacation. But oftentimes when you're watching, you know, the campfire burn and watching the fire, or when you're watching the ocean sitting on a ledge, and the breeze and the birds that are flying, messages will come to you, you know, that still small voice. And how many times we say, "Oh, I wouldn't do that. That's scary." No way, you know. And yet I want to challenge people to respect and honor those voices, because there's probably something pretty deep inside that it touches. And if you let yourself think about it and nothing could hold you back, wouldn't you love to give it some thought or some possibility? I mean, I started doing podcasting after I had gotten, about the same time I retired, I gotten a profile thing come in, and they said, well, I was an influencer. Who, me? Sure. Got the wrong guy, you know. And I think there was one or two other things that happened, and I thought, well, maybe I should take baby steps, be curious, and see what could come of it. And I got this call out of the blue to do a podcast in New York City, and I had paid for it, you know, so that was, again, you know, kind of possibly a scam. I got this mic out of it. That's the one thing. But and then they called back about 4 hours after I did the interview and said, "Oh, we saw that you had energy and had something to talk about or share, you know." And I could see how you think that. And anyway, it grew into me giving myself the permission to try. And I did it for 53 podcasts. And part of that was where, well, in fact, one of them I called Fresh Courage in Retirement. And the other one
How
was,
can people get that book?
it's on Amazon.
Okay, great.
Now, in all honesty, I made it as a do-it-yourself, find your purpose, because you ask enough questions and recall some of your memories. And I at the end of every chapter, I've got at least 3 questions, if not more, and appendix with some of those websites and movies that can help you get yourself in another frame of what's possible. I love the word possibility. If I could sit down and have dinner with anybody, it'd be the author of The Art of Possibility.
Nice.
Because then that's the opposite of expecting the worst, is expecting the best. You know, I've heard of people that got a ticket out here on the freeway and they wound up marrying the officer. That's a possibility.
Yeah, or maybe that ticket kept them from getting in an accident 20 miles down the road.
Yeah.
I always look at stuff that way. Just last week, left the house, get like 5 blocks down the road. Damn, forgot this. Turn around. We were kind of in a rush. My girlfriend's like, "Come on, let's go, Mama." And she doesn't get mad, but I'm like, "Hey, I know we're in a hurry, but maybe this 45-second delay stopped us from getting hit by a semi at the red light at the corner." So I don't sweat the small stuff anymore. And I treat everything small.
It's all small stuff.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm really I actually want to speak more than I want to coach, which is kind of weird. Um, but I guess I feel like my message is big enough. And I actually had a friend here in town from my church that I would meet with her before I retired. Tell me what it's like to be retired, you know? And so she would give me some, you know, how my day would be and all this kind of thing. Well, um, I was coming back from visiting her for tea, and I got this strong sense that I had covered with her like 4 or 5 stories that had a lot of punch to them. And I thought I need to highlight my personal stories to tell other people that will also impact them with possibility and uh, answers, that wisdom that I collected all those years. So yeah, I'm wanting to be making helping people change. We need a lot of courage to change, don't we?
Absolutely. Yeah, the unknown's scary, and it does take a lot of courage to change. Or in my case, a lot of stupidity, because I just keep reinventing myself all the time.
True.
So every week he's a different guy, huh?
Not
No,
every
but I
week,
just-
but every several
Every
years.
3 years to 5 years, I just totally reinvent myself. Yeah.
It takes a lot of courage. Grit is another word they use for that.
Yeah.
Well, some people are they're just gonna. I mean, we all know those kind of people. I mean, he's always been the adventurous one in the family, uh, and it hasn't changed. So we're cousins. We grew up together. We're a month apart, and we've known each other our whole lives. So
Yeah.
Yeah, we've been having cousin reunions every couple of years, and we had
Oh, that's cool.
end of June. And you know, I'm 76, and there's starting to be that not everybody can get there. It's either too long of a drive, you know, or they don't have enough energy or whatever. That health issues start slowing us down. The only thing that's troubling me a little bit is my hearing and accents and numbers are challenging me somewhat. So you know, I won't let them get me down.
yeah, we had a Russian guy on, or a Ukrainian guy on a couple days ago. He was difficult to understand. So
Yeah.
I'm there with you.
Check up.
Checkinov,
No,
Bogdan Checkinov.
I'll say.
Oh, you check
Doctors
up.
want her back for a checkup. What?
I'm like, I didn't.
So have you guys tried volunteering gigs?
I just signed up to volunteer at a wildlife facility today. Yeah, and I wanted to get involved with the in Inglewood, right on the coast. They've got a group that goes out and walks the beach every day looking for turtle nests and
Sea turtles.
sea turtle nests, ropes them off, watches them, monitors them, make sure no one messes with the nests.
But don't they want like a 3 or 4 day a week commitment or something?
Twice a day for a few hours, or twice a week for a few hours. It's
Oh,
just
that's
a
not
big
too
commitment.
bad.
Well, if you got a lot of things going on, twice a week's a big commitment.
Yeah, I guess it
volunteer,
is.
so.
Yeah.
Plus the training, there's in-depth training. Quite a lot to it.
I include in my book 9 tips that this guy that was an AARP president from Washington State, he had a nice 9 points of things that you get when you volunteer. And one, it helps you be social, and social is such an important thing in retirement.
Yeah.
You learn things because if any volunteer gig doesn't train you, leave.
Yeah.
That's disrespectful, you know?
Yeah.
They're probably too busy to train you. Anyway, that was a big one for him. He started out by doing going to senior living places, I think, and talking to people and just listening, you know, and that led to him eventually being trained to take some of these needs or situations that he's exposed to down to our capital in Olympia and tell some of the, you know, politicians what's going on and put in good words for changes that need to happen. But the last story he told was helping out at a assisted living place that there was a gal there that never ate in the group dining hall. And so he started working with her, and come to find out she didn't have any teeth. And she felt embarrassed and somewhat incapable, I suppose, and not wanting to be seen in the dining hall without her teeth.
Yeah.
So all the guy
Yeah,
had to
that's
do was
understandable.
help her get some teeth, some dentures, and then she could be more social and visiting. And he felt like he had impacted her life. He changed her life.
Probably added years to her life.
Yeah, what's better than
Because
that?
you need that social. Yeah, you need that social aspect. That is a wonderful thing.
Well, cool, Sharon.
Yeah.
It's cool hanging out with you.
Yeah. We're getting close to wrapping up here. Any final thoughts or advice?
Well, one of my favorite ways to end is Thomas Wolfe wrote this line. He says, if one has a talent and fails to use it, one has failed. If one has a talent and partially uses it, they have partially failed. If one has a talent and finds somehow to use the whole of it, they have gloriously succeeded and won a satisfaction few people ever know. I like to think it's a little bit of heaven on earth.
That's yes, great
cool.
wisdom. Yeah. Well, we hope you continue to help people find their passion and motivate them and enrich their lives. It's a wonderful thing you're doing. And thank you again for coming on the show. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you for having me. I hope we can get back together again.
Yeah, it'd be great.
Yes, it would be. Yeah.
I might have to do it in person,
Come here.
Hey, come on down.
Yeah.
It rains too much up there for me. If it gets under 70, I'm cold, so I'm out on.
That was all week, yeah, especially the last couple of days. I'm going to be taking a cruise out of Fort Lauderdale for a class.
Oh, there you go.
Okay.
I think this is the best of both worlds, so I might have to wave as I fly over.
Yeah,
There you
come over
go.
and visit. We're only a couple hours away.
Yeah. Oh, and I did find the Teddy Bear Museum. That was one of my weekend trips that I enjoyed while I was down there. I think it's in Naples.
Okay, that's real close to us.
Yeah, not far, about an hour.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks for what you're doing.
Thanks, Sharon.
Thank you. Thank you for helping people. We hope this podcast brings people your way.
We're going to change the world one by one.
That's right. That's right.
All right. See you
All
guys.
right.
Thanks, Sharon. Good
See
night.
ya. Thank you.
Bye-bye.